Hello, science people! Today I want to talk to you about the phyla Porifera. Porifera is our most basic animal, and so usually in zoology or marine biology we start by talking about the phyla Porifera. It is our oldest animal. We estimate maybe around 500 million years. That's a long time to be on this planet. So what is Porifera? Well, Porifera are sea sponges. Yes, that's right, sea sponges. Now, they barely meet the classification of animal. They're actually missing most things that we attribute to animals. Let's look at a porifera's characteristics. A porifera or sea sponge has no brain. Yes, that's right, no brain. You do not have to have a brain to be an animal. They have no brain. They have no muscle, no ability to move, no true tissue, and the weirdest one is they're asymmetrical. They have no symmetry. They can grow in any shape and any way, the same way a plant can. So what makes them an animal then? Well, remember, the definition for an animal is you have to be a multicellular heterotroph. And sea sponges are. They're a multicellular heterotroph. And that's all it takes. So sea sponges eat other things. They eat organic matter and they're multicellular. Let's talk about how a sea sponge eats. So a sea sponge is a suspension feeder, meaning that it eats the things suspended in water. So whatever's floating around in the water is what it eats. The type of suspension feeder that it is a filter feeder. So it filters the water and collects organic matter that was in the water, and that is what it eats. How does it do this? It has no muscles or tissue. It does this with individual cells. So the sea sponge is covered in these choanocytes, nicknamed collar cells, because they have a little collar shaped to them. And so the choanocytes or collar cells have a flagella, this little motor thing that spins around. And what it's doing is it's spinning and it's pulling water through the sea sponge. So all of these collar cells are spinning at once, pulling the water through the sea sponge. Any organic matter that was in the water gets stuck in the sea sponge, where individual cells can break down that organic matter and enjoy the nutrients. So the sea sponge is eating individually. Individual cells are feeding themselves on the sea sponge. So these collar cells pull the water through, and then out the middle of the sea sponge, the osculum, out comes fresh, clean water because it filtered all of the organic matter out of the water. And sea sponges can grow in lots of different shapes. We have rope sea sponges, we have vase sea sponges, we have encrusting sea sponges that grow encrusted against a rock. We have barrel sea sponges, we have giant barrel sea sponges the size of people. There used to be a myth that if you go inside the barrel of a sea sponge, it'll start to eat you. But the only thing that's in there is just fresh water coming out of the sea sponge as it's filtering it. Humans have had a long and interesting relationship with sea sponges. We have always used them to wash our bodies and to wash things. We would go rip up sea sponges off of rocks and dry them, and then we'd cut them into different shapes, and then we can use these to wash our bodies. We now use synthetic sponges, so this has saved countless lives of sea sponges, but prior to our synthetic sponges, we used real sea sponges. People also used to use them to apply makeup. The Spartans used to use them to pad the inside of their helmet. They were even used as contraceptive at one point. And so sea sponges have been very useful in the lives of humans. But luckily now we have synthetic sponges and we no longer have to go into the ocean and rip up living sea sponges. Although you still can buy living sea sponges. We buy them because some people prefer to use organic material instead of using synthetic sea sponges. Although they're quite simplistic and they barely meet the standards of an animal, sea sponges are an important organism in our oceans because they're cleaning the water, they're filtering it for us. I hope you enjoyed learning about the phyla Porifera, and I will see you next time.